19.3. Hey y'all, Artist Poet Girl here, also known as APG Jamie, and
today we're going to make a journal to put our fish in, unless you want to do one of those other options that I had on the journal supply basic list. So you're going to need a couple of pieces of food box or chipboard, whatever you have, for our cover. It's going to measure 6 inches by 9, 6 by 9, 2 pieces, 1 piece for your spine, and that one's going to measure 3/4 of an inch by 9. Now, we're not making the typical journal that opens this way. We're going with this orientation. They're all made the same. We're just going to have it so that it flips up. Okay? Okay. 2 regular size sheets of cardstock will be for your inside cover. You'll need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock for the outside cover. You will need 1 piece of Tyvek that measures at least 3 inches wide by as close to 9 inches as you can get. I didn't have a 9-inch piece. Mine measures 8 1/4. Okay, but it's long enough because it's going to be a reinforcement for our spine open and close feature. You're going to want some type of thread. I use crochet cotton thread because that's what I have. That's what I use. All right? You're going to need some type of pokey tool. This is just from Harbor Freight. Oh, where's my other pokey tool? This is a different kind of pokey tool. It's a little bent. It still pokes. You can use a dart. You can have a fancy brand pokey tool that goes in and out of its own little thing. You can use the head of, or not the head, you can use a nail. You can use your needle yourself. I prefer a pokey tool that has more or less a handle on it. All right? We'll get more to that later when we get ready to do our signatures. First thing first, the journal. If your cardstock, if you don't have cardstock and you're just going to be using some 12 by 12 paper and it's light, as in you can sort of see through it, lay it on your food packaging and make sure you can't see through it. If you can, go ahead and paint your pieces with white gesso or white paint so you obscure the image that's there. Or if you don't mind it showing through, then leave it alone. Okay. Let's get started. At this stage, it doesn't matter which one is your front and your back cover because we can always flip them later if we want. Here's a piece of Tyvek. Here's my spine piece. I'm putting my colored image on the inside because that's just kind of how I do it. I'm going to start off by getting a glue book. And I forgot that bottle of Aleene's is empty. Have to get a new one. Get my new one. Glue up your Tyvek. We're going to smoosh this out with a brush. If you don't have a brush and you're using some kind of catalyst tool or even your finger, that's fine. I like a glue book. Sorry for the shaky. I like a glue book because I can just press on and keep going. So I'm just going to be moving my glue out to the edges. I'm going to use my fingers. I intended on using a brush, but there we go again. You can use a brush, credit card, whatever you want to use. Alright. I'm satisfied that I have glue all the way to my edges. I can just close this and move it out of the way. So I can come back to my surface, my desktop here. Wipe off this glue. Baby wipe, that's why they really come in handy. I'm an eyeballer. If you feel the need to measure, go ahead and measure. I am going to put my spine roughly in the middle. Smashing it down, avoiding the glue. You know, that may be too tall. Oh, it is way too tall. Oh my goodness. I need to trim it. I was thinking that looked kind of tall. Okay, let's trim that off before we go any further. Make sure your pieces are the correct size, okay? Before we start. Okay. So let me just trim that off. Get out of my way. Okay, now let me put that back down. Oops, I want to put the other way. Because I want my inside box on the inside. Alright. So now we're going to center that up. Centering this way. Like I said, my piece of Tyvek is not as long, but it's what I have. So that's what I'm using. If you don't have cards, or if you don't have Tyvek, you can just use a piece of other paper. This is going to act as reinforcement for the opening and closing of the journal. Okay. Here goes the other piece of the cover. We're going to put that, and we're going to line up our bottom edge. And we're going to make sure our top edge is mostly lined up. You're going to take an extra piece of your cover. You're going to put it in that little gap because you want that gap. That's the width of the gap you want, is the width of the piece of food board that you're using, okay? That's how much space you need right there in that gap. You're leaving the gap. That's what you want. And you're going to take the other cover. Again, you're going to line it up down here. And you're going to line it up there. And leave your gap. Take the same piece of card like you're using for your covers. Slide it in the gap. Make sure you can get it in there. That one's a little wide at the top. I'm going to scoosh it in. And scoosh it in. Now I'm pressing that down really well. If you have a roller, roll it. If you have a bone folder it. If you don't, just use the palm of your hand. Now we're going to carefully pick it up and flip it over because we just want to do that all out again. Roll it or bone folder it. Oops, see, that squished some extra glue out, which is fine. Don't worry about that. You don't want to leave big plops of it. Can you see how that one's kind of raised up? Maybe you can see, maybe you can't. Closer. I don't know. Don't leave plops of glue. Smoosh it out so that it is as flat as possible. Use the palm of your hand. Use whatever you have to burnish this down. We want to burnish that. Now I can see now how my cut was not so straight. So I'm just going to trim that. Makes me more happier. Now we're going to set this aside and get one piece of our card. This is why we need the 12 by 12. See, this won't, it doesn't even fit. Let's get a regular sheet. Here's a regular sheet, and it doesn't fit. We're going to cut down our piece of 12 by 12. Now, we're going on the horizontal, so think horizontal, horizontal landscape, not vertical portrait. If you have words or a pattern, you want to get that going in the direction that our book is going to be flipping up and down. All right? This does not really have a pattern. It's just whichever one's going to be most pleasing to me. You're going to cut down your 12 by 12. Use whatever cutting system you have. If all you have is a ruler and a pencil, then measure out and mark your size. And then just cut it with the scissors, okay? I have a cutting device I'm going to use because I have it. Now we have our two pieces for the outside cover. We're going to be putting one basically like that. See how it kind of comes over a little extra? That's what we want. Get your glue book out. Get your cover. This is going to be my outside. And I'm going to glue it up. I'm confident with that. Get the glue off my little fingertips here. Move my glue book. Get my piece of cardstock. I'm going to center it that way. Now, because it's pretty wet, we're going to be able to smoosh it around. Don't press it down too hard just yet. Flip it over. I'm going to slide it this way just a little bit more. There, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to roller it. I like my roller. If you don't have a roller, bone folder it. If you don't have a bone folder, use the palm of your hand. Okay, I put on extra glue. Lost my baby wipe. I need to get another one. Now be careful if you have a shorter piece on the Tyvek like I do. You don't necessarily want to smoosh your glue in that crack. So just smoosh your glue all around. Make sure you get the edges well. Okay. So there's that side. Shoot, I covered my glue book up, so. What we're trying to do is we're overlapping on the spine close to this edge here, but not totally, because when you go to fold it, it could cause an issue with the folding. Get my roller out. All right. we're going to trim up each corners. You're going to want this piece again because you're only going to cut off that much of the corner. You want to stay this, at least this width away from the corner. That's too much. Probably should trim some of that off. Let's make that shorter there. Doesn't need to be that much. There we go. Get our glue. Put glue over here, glue over here. Get my glue book back. Don't fall over there. My glue brush. Use that. Now you're going to ease the edges up. Easing it up, just running my finger there. You can also use your bone folder if you have it. Just ease that edge up. And flip it over. Take your bone folder or your fingernail and work that corner in. Work that corner in. Use your fingernail if you have a fingernail. Ease this side up. Flip that over. Let me try to get closer. Let me bring the camera down. Hang on. Cross fingers you'll be able to see. Get any closer. That's pretty good, I guess. See how we've got this? It's poking up. It's kind of sticking up because it's not the same level as the one underneath. Take your bone folder and work that in with your bone folder. Okay. No bone folder, use your fingernail. Just kind of work it in. No fingernail, try your pokey tool. This is what's going to give us the cleanest edges, points for the inside. No, this doesn't have to be super fancy. Okay, now I'm going to bring you back out. I think that's good. All right, now we're going to work this edge. We're going to fold it over. My cardstock has a slight texture to it, so it's just a little bit tougher than no texture paper. Okay, I'm happy with that. Smooshing it down. flipping it over. You can see my edge is a little dry over here. Now, take your bone folder, gently score it in the folds, or what's going to become the fold. This piece is not sticking, so I'm going to put some glue under there. Have a baby wipe handy-ish. I keep losing, oh there it is. You don't want to overly rub the baby wipe onto your cardstock, and especially if you're using paper, you don't want to do that, because it will weaken the paper, and you don't really want to do that. Okay, flip it up and do the same thing over here into the crease. Don't use the point, use the side, and just work it in there. We're not folding yet. All right. Now let me show you the corners. Can you see the corner? Isn't that pretty? Oh, this one's sticking out just a little bit. And that's okay. I can just go just like that. And now it's fixed. Here goes this one. Alright. Now we're going to set that aside for a minute, because we want that to get dry. In ideal situations, you're going to want to press this under a book. Okay, now we're going to take our 2 pieces of cardstock for the inside cover. We're going to cut those down to 6.5. Get your glue book. Remember, if you're working with a horizontal pattern, or a pattern on your paper, because we're going horizontal or landscape on our journal, you want to make sure your pattern's going the correct way. On this part, oops. And that's how you get glue on the front of your paper. Diddly darn it. That makes me unhappy. Bring out your cover. You're going to try to center it. Top to bottom. I can wipe some of that off. My baby wipe. Using caution, I don't want to make my paper peel up. Maybe I'll put a pocket there. Okay. Where's my roller? Roller. My roller out. take your bone folder, your credit card. You're going in the crease again. You're just going to work in that crease and work in that crease. If you need to, you can get your ruler and lay it up next to the crease and work your bone folder into that so that we're working in the crease. Don't push with the point, push with the side. You don't want to tear or rip the paper. Remember, it's wet and it's vulnerable. Okay. So there we go with that one. Okay. Get your glue back out. Put your page on there. Try not to let it slip this time. Get my pokey tool and pick up the corner here. Close that and move that out of the way. Bring back our book. Flip our paper over. Before you smash it down, you want to try to line it up as best you can with this sheet. You're looking for roughly the same distance on this side as you are on the other. Because it's all wet, it will slide around a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to roller it out. Don't have a roller, use your bone folder. If you don't have a bone folder, use the palm of your hand. Okay. Working that first crease again. Here comes this one. Paper does stretch when it's wet. So remember that. Again, I'm using the side, not the point. You can line your ruler up and work it that way as well. Because I've got that on there, I'm going to use that for the back of the book. This is going to be my front inside cover. Okay? And we're going to set this aside. We're going to go on to our signatures. Fold it in half. I'm using 6 pages because I want a fly sheet and I want to leave a couple of sheets open for me to do some journaling or whatever else I think I might want to do. So this is a folio. It is one piece of paper folded in half. This is now a signature. I have taken 2 folios and put them together and made a signature. For 20 fish, you only need 5 sheets of cardstock. Because I want the fly sheet in the front, I'm using 6. The number of pages in our journals will be pending the number of fish that we made. Alright, I've got those lined up. I'm going to get a clip and I'm going to clip it near the center, not on the center, but near the center. It's going to be hard to see on black paper. Okay, so we have that. We're going to make a template. You're going to take a piece of cardstock, scrap cardstock, the same length of your book. Remember that the spine is here. It can be however wide you want it. You do want to be able to fold it in half. So we have that. It's the same length of our book. You're going to take a ruler. Okay. You're going to take a dark pen. Let's get a dark pen, shall we? And you're going to measure roughly 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom, and roughly in the middle. It can be precise or it can not be precise. Your choice. Now, this is taller than our signature. It's as tall as our book. Take this, your sewing template, lay it underneath your signature there. Get it spun around where I can see. You're going to center your signature so you have basically the same amount of space here as you do here. It doesn't have to be precise. I don't think anybody's going to get any rulers and measure all this. Okay? We're not that kind of people. So you're going to take your pen. You're just going to draw a line. And then you're going to draw a line. A little ink on my substrate. Get that off. You're going to say this is the top. And this is the bottom. This way you know which is top and which is bottom. It makes a difference on where your holes are lined up. Oops, let me scooch this over. You're going to lay your template in the groove, in the fold. You're going to line this line up with the top and that line with the bottom. You're going to fold it in half so that it's actually in the fold. Now take that clip, or another clip would probably be better, and stick it on there like that. Get your glue book back out. We're not gluing, but get your glue book back out. Open it up to a clean, dry page. You're going to get your needle. And your thread. You're going to get that ready. You need about 3 times the length of your book, or the width, however you want to measure that. You want a long piece of string, y'all. Then you're going to thread your needle. Okay, we have that ready. You can set that aside. Get your pokey tool. We're going to kind of shove that fold into the corner or the fold of the book. We're going to poke our hole. We're going to poke our hole. And we're going to poke our hole. We're using a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And it should be roughly on the edge. This one's just a little off, but that's fine. We're not going to worry about that. Okay. Now you can take your template off of there. Set your signature aside. Get your cover back. We're going to roughly find the center of our book, okay, because we want to line that up. I'm going to put a light pencil line on where I think is the center of my spine. Or you can actually measure out the center of your spine, and if you have one of these cheater rulers, I have a lot of rulers, but there's none bossing me. I'm going to take and I'm actually going to find the center, mostly, and I'm going to put my little mark, and then I'm going to put my little mark down here. You can also just eyeball this. And I'm going to draw a light pencil line. Nope, I can't even see that. Okay, I can see that. Now, where's my template? Here's my template. I'm going to lay my fold on the line. Well, just this side of the line. Line that up. Fold it open. Take my pokey tool and pokey my hole. Now, as you see, I'm kind of drilling as I'm poking. Drilling as I'm poking. Drilling as I'm poking. Okay. Now we should have, look on the other side. If it didn't come all the way through, you can poke from this side just a little bit. We have our glue book underneath so that we're not poking a hole into our tabletop. Ideally, you would dry this under weighted or heavy books or something like that until it dries before you do this part. Okay? We're under time constraints, so we don't have the luxury of that. Okay. Now we're through with our glue book. Set that aside. Set our pokey tool and all our other tools aside. Get your threaded needle back out. Make sure it's not all knotted up. No knots. This is the direction that typically works best for me. Bringing my signature back in. Oh, wait, before we do that, let's go ahead and fold our book. Like I said, ideally, we would let it dry under weight until it's dry. Let's start easing our sides up. Can you see that I'm just easing that up? If you need to, take your bone folder and kind of hold it in that crevice fold there. But you want to ease it up. And ease this side up. You know, those two papers don't look the exact same color. That's what happened. My glue turned loose. Put some glue under there. This is going to be my back. Remember, I got my bobo spots on there. Here comes my signature. We're going to start in the middle hole from the inside. We're going in that hole of the signature into the hole on the spine. We're going to pull it through. We're going to leave a good tail. You're going to have to finagle your cover and your signature around. You're going to go in the outside of your cover, top hole, into your signature, top hole. You're going to pull that through. Now you're going all the way down to the bottom hole of the signature, into the bottom hole of the spine. You're going to pull that through. Now everything's still just a little loosey. Don't worry about that just yet, okay? Into the middle. Do not pierce your thread with your needle. If you have a dull needle, that is best. Into the center of the spine, into the center hole of the signature. Like I said, you might have to finagle around. Okay. Turn loose our binder clips. I'm going to trim my needle off here. I'm just going to cut my thread. I don't need all that in my way, but I'm leaving a long tail. A long tail. So you go. All right. Now, we're in the center. One tail on the left, one tail on the right with the center string in the middle. Now you're going to pull it, but be gentle. Remember, it's wet, damp. It's not really dry, so that's not going to be that good. You want to pull sort of tight, because you want this string fairly tight, and it's not. Don't go like that, because you're going to cut your paper. Gently pull. I know it looks like I'm tugging really hard, but I'm not. All right. Now you're going to tie a square knot. Long thread in the middle, tail on each side. A knot. And a knot. If you don't feel comfortable with your knots, add just a dot of glue to your knot, but it's really not necessary. Now I'm going to take my tails and I'm going to trim them. If you want a dangly on there, just trim them a little bit, and because you can take more off. You just can't put it back on. Now we have our journal. That will leave expansion room for once we add our fish. If you want danglies on the outside of your spine, you will start your sewing from the outside. Then that leaves your tails on the outside of the book. I want mine on the inside. If you want to add a closure, you can add a closure. You don't want to, then don't. And there we go.
Photo montage. I appreciate your time, your kind comment, your thumbs up, your shares, and your subscriptions. And if you're not already subscribed, would you please consider doing so? And also click on the little bell so you'll get notifications of the new videos when they go up on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Central Time. I so much appreciate you. Thanks. Coming up, that little disclaimer screen. There it is. Thanks for watching. And happy arting, y'all.